Chairman Dunford, do you support providing lethal defensive aid to Ukraine?
I do, Senator, and have made that recommendation.
As I understand it, DOD has officially made an affirmative recommendation, and State Department also. So where is that decision, and can you enlighten the committee?
Senator, my understanding is that decision is at the White House.
And do you have any idea when we might be able to get an answer on that?
I don't, Senator. I will ask when we get back today. We've been asking for the last couple of weeks, but I'm not sure.
Well, I think it's very important that the Ukrainian government succeed in resisting further Russian expansion. Why did you recommend yes on providing lethal aid?
In my judgment, from a military perspective, the Ukraine needed additional capabilities to protect their sovereignty. As you probably know, Senator, in 2016, we trained a number of their battalions. 2017, trained additional battalions. We provided medical supplies, night vision goggles, counter-mortar radars, and other things. But we felt like their ability to stop armored vehicles and so forth would be essential to them to protect themselves. And so we just looked at it as a military gap that existed, that if that gap was filled, it would increase the probability the Ukrainians could defend themselves.
And I agree. I would just encourage members of the administration to move forward on that. With regard to Russia's asymmetric threats, such as information operations, cyber attacks, and jamming, I want to ask you specifically about the 173rd Airborne Brigade, which is said in a report to be under-equipped, undermanned, and inadequately organized. According to an Army review, 3 years after Crimea, why is this the case? Is it the case, and what can we do about it?
Senator, I read the media article and asked a couple of questions after I saw it. And I think what the leader was doing was describing, the current character of war and indicating that he believed that we ought to make some organizational changes and some equipment changes to make the 173rd base in Vicenza, Italy, more competitive. I think you could make that statement more broadly. So this was a leader looking at his particular unit. I think you can look at that statement more broadly and say that we need to adapt the U.S. military, really the entire U.S. government, to be able to compete at that level below war, where the Russians have so successfully integrated information operations, cyber, political influence, economic coercion, and information operations. So really, I think what the 173rd was describing is a force that is designed for conventional war, and in needing to make some organizational changes and add different capabilities to be competitive in the space that we're describing now.
So writ large, actually, this fairly accurate statement about the 173rd actually could be said about the entire Department of Defense. Is that what you're telling this committee?
Well, Senator, I think I would broaden it. What I would say is today, Russians, Chinese, and others are on a day-to-day basis doing what I describe as they are conducting adversarial competition at a level that falls below conflict. And they have integrated the entire government to be able to do that. And in my judgment, we need to improve our ability to compete in that space. And in the areas specifically I would mention from military capability would be our electronic warfare capability, our cyber capabilities, and our information operations capability. But those all have to be integrated with those things that we don't have inside the Department of Defense, of course, the economic and political tools. But in my judgment, bringing all those together on a day-to-day basis more effectively is something that we do need to do.
And finally, General, with regard to the 355 ship requirement, this is a requirement that's been developed by the generals and admirals in consultation with our leadership around the world. This committee, in the form of the NDAA, has put the SHIPS Act in the Senate-passed version. It makes the 355 ship requirement the policy of the United States Congress. The House of Representatives has also done that, and I expect this will be coming out of conference very soon. This requirement is, in fact, a serious requirement, is it not? And can you assure us that from the level of the administration, we're serious about getting to that number and getting and fulfilling that requirement rather than the 276 ships we have, and doing it as quick as practicable.
Senator, I don't think there's any question that all of us know that the Navy is smaller right now than it needs to be to meet all of those requirements, and that requirement that you've identified is one that's based on analytic rigor, and it should be a target that we shoot for. It'd be good to get there as soon as we can, and of course, many of the conversations we're having about the budget will inform our ability to do that, but we certainly appreciate your leadership in that regard.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.